Good morning once again, my dear students. So this will be the continuation of our catch-up plan where we will be discussing the analysis and interpretation of assessment results. Yeah. So the contents of this discussion will cover presentation of data, wherein there is the textual presentation, tabular presentation, and the graphical presentation of data. So this is the same as presentation presenting the findings of your research studies in your research subjects. So the first thing that we're going to consider in presentation of data is that this refers to the organization of data into tables, graphs, or charts so that logical and statistical conclusions can be derived from the collected measurements. So there are just three: textual, tabular, and graphical. Number one is the concept ng textual presentation. So when I say textual presentation, the data gathered are presented in paragraph form, meaning you're using sentences. Data are written and read, and it is a combination of text and figures. Example, of the 150 sample interviewed, the following complaints were noted. 27 for lack of books in the library, 25 for a dirty playground, 20 for a lack of laboratory equipment, 17 for a not well-maintained university buildings. So these are, instead of presenting this in a graphical format or a tabular format, it's presented in narrative only. So when you are using text or narrative format in presenting the results of the analysis or assessment, for example, this is called textual method. Okay, textual method. Another one is the tabular method or tabular presentation. So when I say tabular presentation, you are using tables. Okay, you are using statistical tables. So it's a systematic organization of data in columns and rows. So there's basically six parts of a statistical table. We have the table heading, the stubs, the box head, the body, the footnotes, and the source note. So when I say table heading, this consists of the table number and the title. So ibig sabihin, in all presentations that you will be doing later on, there has to be a table title and table number. That's otherwise known as the table heading. Next one is the stubs, the classifications or categories which are found at the left side of the body of the table. So we will be looking at that later on. For example, here, the the table heading is the black one, and then the stubs ay itong number 2, nasa left side. And then we have the box head, the top of the column. So ibig sabihin that one, the 3, the third, this one. These are the box head. And the body, so basically the body is this four, the content. And then the footnotes, usually the footnotes are just below the table, the legends, something like that, and the source notes. So when you see the source notes, these are the sources of the statistical data or the results of the analysis. For example, here, table 5, countries with the most cases. So this is the table heading. Okay? And then, countries, cases, ito yung mga tinatawag nating box head. And then United States, ito yung tinatawag nating stops. And then itong numbers hanggang dito sa North America, Asia, ito yung body. And then itong naka-asterisk dito sa baba na last updated, ito yung footnote. And then source note nandito sa baba, yung kung saan galing yung data. Another presentation method is the graphical method. So when I say graphical method, from the term itself, graph, you are using graphs and charts or diagrams. So it is a method which enables us in studying the cause and effect relationship between two variables, and it helps in easy and quick understanding of data. So for example, we have the bar graph. So technically, when I say bar graphs, we use it is used to show relationship or comparisons between groups. We also have the pie graph or the circle graph, where percentages are used naman to present the findings. So these are examples of pie graph or circle graph. Another one is the line graph. So this is the most useful in displaying data that changes continuously over time. So one factor dito na very important when to use line graph is time or dates. Kung walang time variable diyan, it's better to use bar graph. But if there is a time variable sa data na you are trying to present, you are to use line graph. Another one is pictograph. So pictograph or pictogram, it uses small identical or figures of objects called isotopes in making comparisons. So each picture represents a definite quantity. May legend dyan sa baba. For example, we have here one orange icon or figure is equivalent to 10 oranges. And then here, one drop of blood is equal to 5 people. Dito naman sa baba, a scale of one icon represents 25 students. That's pictogram. We also have quantitative analysis and interpretation. So we have levels of measurement, measures of central tendency, measures of variability, measures of relative position, and other measures. We'll be talking about this later on. Um, the first is about the measurement scales. So when I say measurement scales, these are assigning value to a variable. So we have nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio. So as you can see, the order is increasing. We have when we say when you say nominal, these are just classifications of say quantitative values. And nominal, it is used to label variables in different classifications and does not imply a quantitative value or order. So ibig sabihin, you are just um, categorizing or using data to give or to name things without considering order. Unlike ordinal, the term itself ordinal, there is a level of representation. It's either degree of pain, happiness, satisfaction, frequency. Basta there is a concept ng order. Like birth order, rank in an examination, rank in IQ examination, or rank in a race, something like that. Another one is interval scale. So when you say interval scale, there is a range from 1 to a certain value. However, when you say interval scale, it's defined as a numeric scale where the order of the variables as well as the differences between these variables is known. On the other side of the story, when you say ratio scale naman, it's a variable measurement scale that only produces the order of the variables but also makes the difference between the known variables along with the information about the value of the true zero. So ibig sabihin, there is an example later on that we're gonna talk about what do we mean by nominal, ordinal, interval, and scale. So for example, we have here we have here nominal variables such as gender. So when you say gender, male, female, there is no order there. We are just categorizing M for male and F for female. Types of electrical consumption, residential, commercial, industrial, or government. So wala namang order yan. We're just using 1, 2, 3, 4 as to assign names or codes for these types of electrical consumptions. When I say ordinal naman, there is an order or there is a rank. For example, competition placement. So champion, first to third runner-up. Level of satisfaction, very satisfied to very unsatisfied. Pag when I say interval naman, this indicates an actual amount. The order and the difference between the variables can be known. Its limitation is it has no true zero. So ibig sabihin ng no true zero, the zero has still a meaning. Say for example, 0 degrees Celsius is it doesn't mean that there is no heat at all. There is no temperature at all. There is still, but it's an absolute zero. That's interval scale. On the other side of the story, when you say ratio scale naman, when you say zero, there is a true zero. For example, 0 kilograms meaning zero weight. Zero age meaning zero age, it doesn't exist. Zero distance meaning it doesn't have any measurement. Unlike kapag zero temperature or 0 degrees Celsius meaning it has another meaning. It doesn't mean that there is no temperature at all. It's just the absence of heat or absolute zero. So these are the summary of measurement scales. We have the nominal, it's used for naming only. Ordinal, used for naming as well as order. Interval, there is no true zero. Ratio, there is true zero. That's the overall summary of the measures of levels of measurement. We have also the group and ungroup data na sinasabi natin. Pag sinabi natin group data, these are categorized into groups already where there is an interval scale already, while ungrouped data are considered as otherwise known as raw scores. So example, frequency distribution is a tabular arrangement of data into appropriate categories, showing the number of observations in each category or group. We have here ungrouped data. Ito yon yung sinasabi ko na when you say ungrouped data, these are data that are simply raw data na not grouped yet. We have 58, 120, 123, 120, and so on hanggang kay 88. And as you can see, the data set are not arranged at all. These are raw data, untouched data, randomly. When you say group data naman, these are group data na there is an interval already. These are grouped into specific intervals, 61 to 60 to 75, 76 to 70, hanggang sa 96 to 100. And there is a frequency on the other side. We have the concept ng frequency table, kung paano ba tayo gumagawa ng frequency table. We have the class limit. Ano ba yung ibig sabihin ng class limit? It is the groupings or categories defined by the lower and upper limits. So upper limit, yun yung higher value ng limit niya, ng group niya. Lower limit, yun yung small. And as you can see, lower class limit here represents the smallest number in each group, and upper limit represents the highest number in each group. And the distance between the upper and the lower limit is otherwise known as the class size. Okay? Class size meaning it's the width of each class interval. So say for example, from 10 to 14, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So the class size there is 5. And the class size is supposed to be equal in each category. So another class boundaries. So when you say class boundaries, these are the numbers used to separate each category and each frequency distribution, but without gaps created by the class limits. So you have to add zero point 0.5 and subtract zero point 0.5 from the upper and lower limit of each class interval. For example, if the class interval is 10 to 14, then the class boundaries of that is 9.5 to 14.5. If the class interval is 15 to 19, then subtract mo yung 0.5 doon sa lower limit and then add mo yung 0.5 doon sa upper limit. So, from 15 to 19, the class boundaries niyan is 14.5 to 19.5 and so on. Another example, we have 20 to 24 as the class interval. So, ang magiging class boundary niyan is 19.5 to 24.5. Okay, so the class size is as simple as subtracting the getting the distance from the lower to upper limit of the class interval. We have here class marks naman. When you say class marks, are the midpoint of the lower and upper class limit. So how do we get the class midpoint? You have to get the sum or the average, rather, you get the average of the lower and the upper limit. So ibig sabihin, if the lower limit is 10, the upper limit is 14, then you get the sum of that. 10 plus 14 is 24, then divided by 2 is 12. So class midpoint or class marks is the average of the upper and lower limit of each class interval. So pag 15 to 19, ano yung midpoint nun? 17. Pag 20 to 24, ang midpoint nun ay 22. Okay. So we have here, how do we get the range? Ano? So when you say range naman, that is the difference between the highest score and the lower score. So kung highest score mo ay 100, lower score mo ay 50, subtract mo lang yon, that's the range of scores na tinatawag natin. Ngayon, if you're identifying naman the class size, you have to divide the range by the desired number of classes or categories. Ayan. So, how many categories ba in the first place? So, meron tayong mga computations dyan. Like, for example, uh, K for the number of class size is equal to 1 plus 3.3 logarithm of n. So, there's a computation there. However, we're not gonna do that anymore. So these are highly mathematical in nature. We can never use this as part of presentation ng table of frequency table. However, we're going to use this in presenting bigger data. For example, if you are presenting higher uh, statistical presentations. So next thing after you're getting the class size is that you set up the class limit and then you set up the class boundaries and then tally the scores and find out other parts necessary such as the class marks among others. So here's an example of constructing step-by-step construction of a frequency table. We have raw score of 40 students in a 50-item mathematical quiz. So you're going to construct a frequency distribution table. The first thing that you are going to do is to get the range. So when I say range, the difference between highest score and the lowest score. So highest score there is 15, the lowest score is 15. So meaning the range is 35. Your n is 40. So you have to solve for the k. We have logarithm of 1 plus 3.3 logarithm of n. So that's log of 40, meaning the number of class sizes or class intervals will be 6. So how do we find the class size? You divide the range by the number of interval. So 35 divided by 6. So that's 5.8. Approximately 6 class interval yung magiging, ay class sizes yung magiging mapuproduce natin in that frequency distribution table. So you're going to tally it out and then find the class boundaries and then the midpoint and the other parts of the presentation. Ay other parts of the frequency distribution table. And so as a continuation, next thing after the tabular, graphical, and textual presentation, we're going to discuss the measures of central tendency. So when I say measures of central tendency, we will be dealing with mean, median, and mode of group and ungroup data. So when I say measures of central tendency, these are measures that represent a set of data and the value around which data tends to be centered. That's why it's central tendency. So we have the mean, median, and mode. So when I say mean, it's nominal average, the sum of the data values divided by the number of data values. And the advantages of using mean is it's simple to understand and easy to calculate. It is rigidly defined and it is at least affected fluctuation of sampling and it takes into account all the values. So when I say mean, it's simply otherwise known as average. So we have here ungroup and group formula for finding the mean. Technically, when we say sample mean and population mean, just the same. But when I say sample mean, it's uh, selected elements or examples lang from the population. Pang population mean naman yung kabuuan. So pag ungroup data, you're going to add all the scores, all the data divided by how many numbers of observations are there. Pag pag sample naman, sa group data naman, may computations lang tayong kinukuha dyan. But technically, most of the time, ginagamit lang natin dito yung ungroup data. So example, consider the following grades in five quizzes in the statistics of the two students. Student A is 80, 60, 88, 75, and 90. And student B is 70, 185, and 92. Ngayon, the idea here is you're going to get the average of student A and the average of student B. Ngayon, how do we get the average? We get the sum of the scores divided by how many scores are there all in all. So student A, 80 plus 60 plus 88 plus 75 plus 90. And then divided by 5 kasi lima yon. Excuse me. So the score or the average score or the mean will be 78.6. On the other side, of that example, we have student B, 70 plus 100 plus 85 plus 92 plus 86. And then the average is, get the sum of that divided by 5, kasi 5 lang din yon. Then the average is 86.6. So this means the mean suggests that average grade of two students in 5 quizzes in the statistics are 78.6 for student A and 86.6 for student B. So pag mean, average lang yan. Kunin nyo lang yung average niya. Pag ungroup data, tinuman yon, may formula lang tayong sinusundan dyan. Pag sinasabi naman nating median, pag sinabi nating median, it's the middlemost value. So median, from the term itself, median, middle observation. So how do we get the median in set of data that is ungrouped. You have to arrange the scores from lowest to highest, and then you get the middlemost value. That's the median. Okay. So the advantages of median, the median is not affected by the size of the extreme values, but by the number of observations. Then the median can be calculated even when the frequency distribution contains open-ended intervals. And it can also be used to define the middle of a number of objects, properties, or quantities which are not really quantitative in nature. And it can be easily interpreted. Kasi pag median, yun nasa gitna nga. So example, we have here for ungroup, if the ungroup or if the number of data is odd, so ibig sabihin yung group ng data ay 7, ganun halimbawa, the median is the centermost score. If the number of data is even, halimbawa 10 yung observations, the median is found by computing the average of the two middle values. So ibig sabihin, kung 10 yon, yung gitna nun ay 5 and 6. So yung nasa gitna ng 5 and 6, yun yung median value. Sige, so for example, consider the following grades in 5 quizzes. Yun pa rin kanina. The median dyan, technically the first thing that you are going to do is to arrange the scores from smallest to highest. So 60, 75, 80, 88, 90. And then get the center value nun. For a student A, the center value is 80. For a student B, we have 70, 85, 86, 92, 90. So the middle value is 86. That's the median. The median of students A's grades is 80 and the median of students B's grades is 86. Ganun lang. So mas madaling kunin si median. Pag ito yung sinasabi ko kanina na you're going to arrange the data first from the smallest to largest and then you get the middlemost value. Ngayon kung the middlemost value nila ay dalawa, you get their average. It so happen na dito sa dataset na ito, ang middle value niya ay 85.6 and 92. So you get the average of that 88.8. Hence, that's the median score in the activity na statistics of that particular student. Okay? Kapag ang sinasabi naman natin ay yung mode, it's the nominal average. So ibig sabihin, it's the observation with the highest. Okay? The observation with the highest. Ayan. The observation with the highest occurring value in a list of data. Ayan. So, ibig sabihin pag mode, yun yung lang yung pinakamaraming beses na ulit sa observation. So, for example, we have here, halimbawa, sa group data, kung saan group yung pinakamaraming frequencies, yun yung group ng mode na sinasabi natin or yung modal group na tinatawag or modal class, rather, modal class. Okay. So, dito sa data na ito, the modal class is yung pinakamaraming frequency, CF or cumulative frequency. So, we have 60 to 64. Yun yung modal class niya. Ayan. Pero, the concept lang ng measures of central tendency kasi is, when we say mean, that's the average. Pag median, that's the middle value. Pag, pag mode, yun yung pinakamaraming beses na ulit sa isang observation. So, yun lang naman. That's the only thing that we're going to talk about uh, analyzing and interpreting results of analysis or results of assessment.